Okay, welcome back to this fifth part in our series about modals of certainty. Now we're going to be focusing on recognizing time frames. Now that you know what the forms look like in the present and future and past, let's also take some time to notice the context in our sentences to be able to tell time frames. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to identify whether the modal of certainty is used in the present, past, or future, and we'll also work on writing expressions with modals of certainty. Now, the very first thing that we're going to do is go back to that Ohio Department of Health's website with frequently asked questions, and we're going to see if we can tell the time frame of sentences that contain modals of certainty. All right, so the time frame here, this one, I'm looking around for words that tell me, well, I see that back here they're talking about is community spread. So this seems to be in the present. Okay. Talking about things that are true right now. Now I'm going to look around this one. All of the verbs that I see around this one are in the present tense, so I'm going to say this one is also present tense. All right. And this is one of the things that can be tricky about modals, is because they don't have tense on the words, it can be hard to understand what time these verbs are happening, but if you look around the verbs, you get lots of clues. So here we see are. When an affected person coughs, it may be possible. Has. So again, this is another present tense. Let's skip down. Let's look at this one here. So I see what is being done to keep Ohioans safe is being done. All right, so this is passive voice, and it's talking about right now. What are we doing right now? And so the answer that you see here is talking about things that are happening right now. Is being expanded. That's present progressive passive. Same here. Is being conducted. Is present perfect passive with a modal of certainty. So what you see a lot in this here is these ideas of present progressive passive to talk about what is being done right now by companies, by government, by businesses, workplaces. All right, so here's an example where I'm looking for time words around modals, and I see some information to help me understand what the modal means. So I'm looking, should I visit my doctor? You should make all medically necessary visits. Okay. On May 1st, a restriction on elective and non-elective surgeries will be amended. All right. So here we are seeing our modal, and here we see a time word that is helping us understand the tense, and the tense that we see here is future tense. Then we see may go forward, and this again is helping us think about the future. All right, so now that we've had some practice in that, let's try out this exercise. So I have 5 sentences here. I want you to pause the video and see if you can figure out what the time frame is of each of these sentences. All right, so for the first sentence, we can see that we have a time phrase here. We see by now. Must have traveled. Okay, so by now, in case you're not familiar with this time frame, it means starting at some time in the past up until now. And so all of this time is past. Okay, so even though it says by now, that by is referring to this time until the present. So this is past. And also think that your action here is on the word traveled. So when did that traveling happen? All right, secondly, we may be able to go camping today if the campgrounds are open. So we see this time word today, and we look at the context. May be able to go, are, this is present. Okay, that word today really helps us ground ourselves in when this actually happened. 3, school closures may continue. All right, and then we see this time for the next 8 months. So that time phrase should make us think about the future. This fourth one, my favorite restaurant might reopen in a few weeks. So here we're talking about reopening. And then our time phrase here, in a few weeks, that's future. So this is referring to a future action. And finally, another outbreak could occur soon if people aren't careful. Okay, so remember, could doesn't always mean past. And in fact, we see this time word soon if people aren't careful. The occurring occurs our main verb, happening soon, so this is actually referring to future. All right, so now let's try some writing. I have 3 situations here. Pause the video and then come up with a sentence that includes a modal of certainty in response to each of these sentences. All right, now here's mine. So you wonder how decreased use of transportation will affect the environment. Well, I decided to write, so notice that I added right now just to help make the time frame clear, and I decided to use must be significantly reducing. So I'm actually using a present progressive tense here to indicate that process, this ongoingness. It's in the process of being reduced, and I'm using my modal of certainty to show you how I feel about how certain that is. All right, my second example, I wrote this. Closing schools and universities may have slowed the spread of the virus. So I have chosen may have slowed, and that shows past tense. All right, and finally my third one. Going to theaters could be safe, but I'm not sure. So here we see my modal of certainty is about 50%, right? Could be safe, but I'm not sure. And I added this context to make it just a little clear that I'm talking about a modal of certainty. All right, up next, we're going to work more on writing expressions using modals of certainty. I'll see you then.